Well, good morning, everyone. So I have Simone here this morning. Hi,
Good
Simone.
morning. Morning.
So Simone's a friend, but Simone also helps me to work fitness stuff. So she's often behind the scenes when you see a nice image of something or whatever. So she does a lot of work for us at Spice Fitness. So I thought it would be great to interview you this morning, Simone, because you know firsthand what it's like to not have a good sense of body image.
Absolutely, I know. Yeah.
Absolutely. So I just want to start off. So body image, what is it? Well, we all know it's that perception you feel when you either feel good in your body or you don't feel good in your actual skin. And as a nurse, I've seen young ladies and I've seen older ladies because I'm a strength trainer, Simone, and you would have seen it yourself with older ladies like our age and older. So it's not just young girls, it's older ladies as well who don't have a good perception of their actual body. So they don't like what they are and they think that they have to be thin, have to be really slim or thin or just have this body that looks absolutely fantastic, which is really unachievable at our age because we have to deal with a whole pile of things. We can be the best we can be, and don't you agree with that for our age? But
yes.
We're not going to be like a young teenager again, are we?
No, and there's positives to that.
Yeah,
so,
there are. So it's there and it's around. So I just want to talk today, and you sent me through some statistics last night, which I thought were really good, Simone. So 50% of women engage in unhealthy behaviours to control weight. 70% of women 18 to 30 years old don't like their body.
Can I just say, with that statistic, that's probably when your body is at its most, what we would look back on and go, this is what we want to look like. I reckon 18 to 30 and 70% of those women don't like their body when they're at, I don't like to say prime because I don't think that's a good word, but
your body will probably be its best in that age group. You're right.
It's easier to keep it right when you're 18 than when you're 54. So
you're absolutely right, and before you've had a whole pile of kids as well. 81% of 10-year-olds are afraid of being fat. That is so sad. I recall my very skinny daughter in a bathtub with her friend as about a 6-year-old, and she came home and said, "Mum, my friend told me I'm fat." And I said, "What are you talking about?" She said, "Well, the skin but behind her knee, her friend called that fat." And so my daughter started to believe she was fat as this very skinny young girl at about 6, and that's quite sad, don't you reckon?
It's very sad and very common,
And 30 million people will experience an eating disorder at some stage in their life, even if that's just some eating disordered thoughts. 89% of girls have dieted by age 17. That is so sad.
It's almost all of them.
Wow.
So,
It's so sad. And the death rate for women with eating disorders is 12 times that of women of similar ages. And 1,000 women die each year from eating disorder complications, malnutrition, heart attack and suicide. And now not everyone will get to that point where they develop an eating disorder. But we just want to have a chat about body image this morning.
Yeah, it's important.
I think it's important, Simone. Yeah. So where do you reckon in society we could do a better job with not promoting this false sense of self?
Yeah, there's so many things that can contribute to disordered eating and body image. So disordered eating often comes from body image. Our printed media and the media that we see on Instagram, like we don't have as much printed media as we used to, but all that printed stuff is still there, but now it's on Instagram, and they're photoshopped to within an inch of their life. I mean, there's videos out there that show you a lovely looking body, and then suddenly she's no longer is she 5'6", she's now 6'2", and you know her shape of her face is different. And if you compared the one image with the actual woman, you probably wouldn't be able to recognise it. Right. So what can we do? We can keep campaigning to have normal looking women in some of those, underwear campaigns, or, wearing your clothes, or even just selling a house or something. Apparently being sexy sells a house.
Or cars.
Or cars, yeah. So our media, our movies, everything needs more women of every shape and size. And, you know, women that have got pimples on their face, and women that might have a disability, and not just one random film here and there where they make out a big deal about the person who's overweight, you know, in a large frame is what I've learned to call people who are bigger. But the story is just a normal story, and there's just a normal looking person. We all know that there are people in larger bodies. We all know that people might have a birthmark on their face or whatever. So, yeah, I mean, and as individuals, because we can't really change the movie industry.
No.
But as individuals, it's about how we talk to each other, how we talk to ourselves, and in particular, how we talk to our children. So like your daughter being in the bath and be told that the skin on the back of her legs is fat because it moves. All we can do is just obviously keep feeding the information back. But how we talk to ourselves is comes across to our children, especially for a woman talking to her daughters or a man talking to his sons, because body image is also an issue for men. But most of them aren't trying to get thin, most of them are trying to get buff. I'll just say that I have no medical experience and I'm not a psychologist, so I only speak from personal experience. But talking to ourselves and others.
I really admire one lady. Have you heard of Jamie Lee Curtis? So Jamie Lee Curtis, being an actress, they wanted to do a shoot of her, I think on the cover of Vogue, I might be wrong there, but on some cover, and they wanted to alter her in all sorts of ways. And she said, you're only going to put me on there if you put me as I am. And I think it could have even been a nude shot or a semi-nude shot. And she's now like a 50-something-year-old or a 60-something-year-old, and this was only a few years ago, and she insisted the only way they were going to use her body is if they used it whole as she was. And I love that idea, because why should they change you? Like, if you ever see me on a Facebook thing, it'll be me as I am. I may have good lighting, like sometimes the way you put the light can drastically age you by 10 years or make you look a bit younger. But the one thing, Simone, I just can't stand people that aren't real, and editors that aren't real, that want this unreal thing, because I'm sure that does promote with our young people.
Well, it does. It says, basically it's saying, I'm not okay as I am. You know, wrinkles are bad, or whatever it is, you know, my nose is too thin, my arms are too thin, whatever it is. And it's just saying I'm not good enough.
In Instagram influencers, I think, play a big part too. Don't you think? Because you get people there saying, well, this is how my body gets to be this shape because I eat this every day. And so don't you think girls just latch on to that and go, oh, well, I've got to be doing that because I want to look like that. But they don't. I think it's when you get to our age, you accept that your body shape is a certain way, like genes play a certain way. So if your family all carry big hips, probably you're going to have big hips. But as I say to all my clients, they can be the best big hips that the world has ever seen, because you can have a beautiful body with whatever you've been born with. But these girls deem that they want to be something that they probably never ever will be.
Yeah, I think a lot of those young girls, they're at a really vulnerable age. I reckon you're probably vulnerable up to about 25 at least, where, you know, once you've found a partner and you've settled down and he loves you, hopefully, or she loves you, depending, and then you start to feel more comfortable in your body. Once you've been pregnant, then you have to you hopefully start to feel more comfortable in your body, because it's going to get bigger. But with the young ones, then they're just at such a vulnerable age, and there's people just making money, basically making money. And body image is a massive big, if you look at it from a financial point of view, there's so many industries that benefit from us not feeling comfortable, you know, whether it's face cream, whether it's get slimmer and buy this magic potion, whether it's when I wear this pair of jeans, I'm going to look slimmer, it's going to suck me in, you know, all that sort of stuff. People making really big money.
You're right.
Even, you know, like, I won't say names, but, you know, the brand of cereal you'll buy might have a picture of a skinny girl on it, and you choose that brand of cereal because, well, if I eat that one, it must be better and I'll look like her.
So true.
Yeah.
And weight loss companies, I think, want you to buy their stuff. They want you to fail. so that you keep going back to them.
Yeah.
They don't want you to get onto a total lifestyle change where your head's working well for you. Then you'd make good choices for your food choices, and they don't want you to get to that point. They want you to rely on their product, which doesn't work a lot of the time because there's so many other things in there that are unhealthy for you or full of sugar or whatever. And so you fall again, you don't attain the results, and they'll go, well, that's your fault. You didn't do this and this and this. So we're made to feel guilty all the time as well. We're made to feel guilty if we happen to gain weight over a period of time or do you agree with that? Like, I just think we're made to feel guilty.
Absolutely.
Constantly.
So, like, the statistics say that 95% of diets fail.
Yep.
So if you go on a diet, you lose some weight, 95% of people will put it back on. I don't know what's different about the 5% that don't, but basically my philosophy has become, if you can't do it forever, don't do it at all.
Yep.
So if you're taking a product, if you're drinking your magic potion or whatever it might be, or you've gone on some fancy cut out all carbs or whatever it is, you can't do it forever. So it's a bad philosophy.
It is, you're right. I think it's one of those things that when you rely on someone telling you this is what you've got to have every day to have a great body or to feel good, then it's going to be short-lived because it's got to be incorporated with your whole lifestyle change. I think, as you said, it's got to be something that you can do every day and feel good about doing it, feel good that you're not trying to exclude any food groups from your diet, that you can have all food groups and enjoy all food groups, but that you can make it work for you. And that could be a few different ways with portion control and stuff like that. But if you can eat all foods and enjoy them, and try and make good choices with things that work for your body, then that's certainly a far better way to go.
So it's an interesting thing that we associate feeling good with having a good body. So if you have to have a good body to feel good, you've got a body image issue. So you can feel better by getting healthier, which is a very different concept to losing weight or trimming down, getting bigger boobs or getting a smaller butt or whatever you want.
A big butt in this day and age.
Oh, okay.
So once upon a time, it was getting a small butt. Everyone wants a big one in these days.
Yeah, well, next week it'll be a medium-sized one. So, but if your self-worth and your self-image is dependent on how you physically look, then in my experience, it'll never be good enough. So you can lose the weight, but then there'll still be some little spot somewhere. There'll still be something, well, now I've lost the weight, now my hair needs colouring. Everything needs to change. And some things are big and some things are small. So if you're worried about, like I put colour in my hair, so if you're worried about colouring your hair, it's probably not a huge deal, although 100% body acceptance would be, okay, well, my hair went grey, so
that can be a hard one. I'm not there yet.
Like I've kind of decided in my head, not an expert, that body image is on a scale.
I was about to say that to you. I think we all do have it to a degree, don't we?
I think we do, and obviously there's somewhere in the middle, a little band where you cross over from being normal body image problem to really problematic body image problem. And so, the two extremes would be, someone that won't leave the house, doesn't have sex with their husband, won't go swimming, won't do anything with their children because of how their body feels. And that can happen to people I would consider slim. And then at the other end, somebody that would flop around the neighbourhood naked with their white hair and their wrinkles and couldn't give a toss. So most of us are going to be not on the extremes, we're somewhere in there. And I guess, it becomes a problem when it impacts, like drinking alcohol, it becomes a problem if it impacts your life.
So true.
Bearing in mind that everything we say and do impacts people around us, not just our children.
Because I would say I've always had a really good, healthy body image, but even there are days, and this is quite normal when I put on clothes and I feel yuck, put on something else and I feel yuck, I put on something and I just can't feel good. And I know that's more my head than it is because the clothes last week were fine, but today I don't like any of them and I feel yuck in all of them. So I think to a large degree, all of us have that.
Absolutely. You know, the clothes that you wore this morning feel bad this afternoon kind of thing.
Yeah.
But then that's telling us that it's our mood is affecting our body, because you know intellectually the body hasn't changed, but for whatever reason your mood is low and therefore everything feels bad.
Yeah, absolutely.
But of course that'll be fixed by tomorrow.
Yes,
but,
of course. So, yeah, I was just going to say, I'll ask you a few things about yourself, and then we'll just talk about what people at home that feel that they don't have a good body image, maybe some things that they could do about for themselves at home. So, Simone, when did you first start to feel that you weren't enough with your body?
Oh, that's really hard because, it's really hard. So it has specifically, I'm sorry to demonise my mother and my grandmother, who I love dearly, and they had many fantastic points. But in an effort to protect me from being fat, and they were very slim, tiny women, they would encourage me to lose weight, and I'm talking about 8, 9, 10, so quite young. And I was a much plumper build, a very different build to, I don't know where I got the build from, someone else in the family. But my siblings, you know, very athletic, tall, thin, black hair. Obviously I don't have black hair. And my mother, very petite, small boobs, small hips. And here came me with, I didn't have big boobs and big hips at 10, but I was plump. You know, I was 10 pound 10 when I was born. Mum put me on a diet when I was 3 weeks old because she was worried about my weight. So it's all very...
So it stemmed from about 3 weeks old, do you think?
Yeah, but I don't remember that, obviously. No. But so I don't know any different, but I do remember, at 15, 16, being told by mum, and this is a quote because I didn't forget the words, my mother said, if you could just lose a few pounds, you'd start to look quite attractive, which translated into my head that not only are you fat, but you're ugly as well. So, you know, it's probably a little bit dramatic from my point of view, but I was 16 and we're a little bit vulnerable at 16. And that kind of always had been her attitude. Like you couldn't, the Zsa Zsa Gabor quote, you can never be too thin or too rich. Because we grew up in the 60s with Twiggy, 60s and 70s, and true. Twiggy was around. I mean,
no bum in those days.
Called Twiggy because she looked like a twig.
Yeah, that's true.
And, you know, she was able to attain that, but I could starve myself to just a skeleton and I'd never be that shape. Yeah. So... but yeah, the short answer to your question is very young.
Yeah.
And it came from my mother and my grandmother, but it came from a place of love because they knew, or they felt, they believed that I would be more happy if I was thin.
Yeah.
So they helped me to try and become thin.
It is so sad, Simone, because I do believe that that's why my friend in Perth died of anorexia nervosa, because at 17 and right up for the few years or so, she had felt that members of her family would tell her she looked awful in that dress or too fat in those clothes. And I think it was done out of love again to let her know that she could choose better.
Yeah.
But it started her off on her lifelong journey.
You never know what single comment can tip somebody over the edge who's already fragile for some reason, and then a single comment will just be the one that tips them over.
Yeah.
So
no, that is so
be
true.
careful what you say.
Is there anything that made your body image worse then as you were growing up? Is there anything, or was it already bad and it just stayed bad, or did anything tip it over the edge more?
No, it gradually got worse over the years. Back in the day, we had Dolly Magazine, and we had, do you remember Dolly Magazine?
Yes, I do.
Cosmopolitan.
Yes.
So, I mean, I guess they were the equivalent of today's Twitter. Not Twitter, Instagram.
Those magazines. I couldn't stand them.
They were in my... Well, I wanted them because I wanted to look like the girls, and therefore I wanted to follow... I don't know if they were photoshopped in those days.
No,
did they have?
Probably were starting to.
Yeah, I don't know.
But
about
even
that.
Really good lighting and everyone's made up.
But they're naturally really slim people that are really, you know, there were no fat people in there. No. Or if there was, it was a before and after. But the important thing for me was the diet. So if I live on juice, then I will look like this girl who never had red hair, because every part about me was no good. I used to get pimples as a child, had red curly hair, which nobody liked. So it's not always just about body. It's about everything. It's about your whole... It's about everything.
Yeah. Okay. It's really, really interesting. So did it come to a point where it got really the worst?
When I became bulimic, and I know that we're going to talk about eating disorders on another day, so we won't go right down there. But that, for me, it was kind of triggered by a comment that said, "Are you on a diet?" Now, the comment, when you put it in context, was a man that didn't speak English, wondering why I was eating vegetarian food. And his wife quickly backtailed and said, "No, no, 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 why don't you eat meat?" But that diet stuck in my head, that comment. Even though, like, I was 21, 22 then, and that kind of hung around with me for, I wasn't even fat. Yeah. Like, I'd give anything to be that shape and size again. But, yeah, so that stuck around with me. And within 12 months, I was bulimic.
Wow.
So, and it was that
simple.
That's what I mean, but it only takes us. Yeah. But I was already fragile.
Yeah.
Like, if somebody else had said that, if they'd said that to you, you probably would have laughed and went, "No, I'm vegetarian."
Right. Absolutely.
So you've got to have that fragility for whatever reason, whether that's an innate personality trait, whether that's just come from lots of people saying things to you. But,
wow. So I just want to talk about. So I love the embrace movement with Tara Brumfitt, an Australian with 3 kids, and she did a before and after photo shot of herself, and I loved it because it turned it on its head how we normally see before and after. So normally before is someone bigger, after is someone slimmer, albeit made up to the hilt with nice tanning and perfect clothing, perfect lighting, so they look amazing in the after pictures. But her before pictures were of her all tanned up, looking very glam in a photo shoot kind of on a stage where she'd trimmed down and had her whole body looked amazing. The after shots were of her nude or semi-nude with some rolls of fat, showing herself as she normally would be after 3 kids. And the reaction was huge because women all around the world could relate to this lady. And she just said how not normal it is how she was where she was standing on the stage, because that took a lot of dieting. I mean, to get to that point where you have almost like down to 8% body fat, honestly, it takes steamed chicken and broccoli every night for like 2 months, 3 months. It is such a restrictive diet to get to that point, and you're working out hard with weights, you're doing all that hours and hours and hours in the gym. But that was good. And now you and I have both seen her movie Embrace. What do you think of that whole movie?
Well, I've watched the movie 3 times. That's what I think of it. It's interesting you say her body was amazing when it was slim, because,
the world would see that it was perfection.
Yeah, but she didn't see it as perfection.
No, she didn't.
So she was probably not necessarily fitter, but she was healthier, because even though her body is larger in the after photo, she'd had a couple of kids by then, but she was also eating really well. She was eating really healthy, and she's still running half marathons. Yeah. So it's not like she just gave up and sat on the couch and ate cheesecake. No, I mean, the body image, what do they call it? Body positivity movement isn't about being unhealthy. No. And nobody would, I don't like to say nobody, but most people would not encourage you to be unhealthy. So it's all about being your best self. But women don't look like twigs, most of us.
We don't.
We don't. Less so once you hit 30, I think. You know, from 30 you're just in this, your body is changing. You've had your kids, you're getting a little bit older, you get a wrinkle here and there. My nephew's 32, he's got little white hairs in his beard. So we all start to look a little bit older. But the embrace movement, I think it's compulsory viewing. I don't know if it's feasible. Maybe we could pop it in the comments afterwards. The photo of Tara Brumfitt.
Put that in my Spice Fitness one last night. There's a photo.
But it's just great to see. And in the Embrace film, they're not just embracing body size, But there's a lady that has hair that's growing on her chin, and she's kind of embraced it. It must be some kind of hormonal imbalance.
On my chin right now? I haven't taken them off
a lady that's on crutches, who's some kind of disability.
A lady with one leg that's got one of those steel legs.
I think there's a lady with a birthmark. I can't remember, but it was about embracing who you are right now, and it's an amazing film. They do also talk about all the industries that benefit. The cosmetic surgery industry, that's the one we forgot to mention.
Cosmetic surgery.
Yeah, that's what we think.
Yeah.
Not good. I mean, cosmetic surgery is one thing if there's genuine medical reasons. So, I mean, I don't mean to say that all cosmetic surgeons are bad, but
if you don't need it,
if you don't need it, if you just want your ears to be something because someone teased you in high school, well, I think you need a psychologist rather than a cosmetic surgeon. But so they cover that because Tara goes to a cosmetic surgeon in the film, as you probably remember, and just for a consult, and she says, well, what can you do to make me look better? And he would lift her boobs and he would stick this here and he'd do that there, and she would get a bit of everything, like her entire body would be surgically altered. And then she just walked out. Obviously she wasn't going to get it. It was for a documentary. But I think it's compulsory viewing.
It is good because as you said, Simone, she's not trying to tell you that we all need to be unhealthy, but just saying that we can be this size. This is how we can be. And we can be healthy and well. She was doing triathlons and all sorts of stuff, and yet she's got some rolls here, and that is quite normal. We're all about, we need a flat tummy, we need a curvy bum, we need this and we need that. Well, why do we need? If it makes you feel good, that's great. But where do you draw the line between it being just, I would like my bum to be a bit more up. It's gone down over the last 20 years or so, and it started to head south. We all have that. Boobs. Hello, they were up here once and now they've started to head down here. Yes, we all know. So where do you draw the line then? Is it that we need to get this head tried to be sorted out so that we can accept, look, this is okay. I'm okay with not having that bum I had as an 18-year-old. And I think you're right, Simone. I think often we need a psychologist, not a surgeon.
Absolutely, and even if you do need a surgeon, still see the psychologist first.
Yeah, I agree.
But there are, it's quite well documented, there are quite a lot of catwalk models that are uncomfortable with their body. Yeah. Now they're what we aim to, many people will aim to be like a catwalk model. Well, that's impossible if you're not 6'2", for one thing, and that's a very difficult thing to change. Yeah. But if models aren't comfortable with their body and their body is put on show as being the thing to attain, then what does that say? It says that attaining the perfect body that is perfect to you, because that's really individual, is impossible. Yeah. Perfection is always impossible. Also, skinny equals, thin equals beautiful is a Western construct. So there are a lot of cultures where the bigger the woman, not that a woman should be judged on the other side of the coin for being bigger, but the bigger the woman, the more desirable she was because she represented more wealth or affluence or whatever. True. But as soon as Western culture came into those societies, the incidence of eating disorders hugely increased because the women wanted to be thin like the magazines. Yeah. So.
And who wants to just eat just one bit of fruit a day or cut one apple up into 4 quarters and that's what you eat all day? I'm sorry, but I could never do that. I need more food than that. So it's not a real thing. So how do you feel now?
Oh, well, see, everything I've said is the pot calling the kettle black because it's something that I really, really struggle with. I've been a lot thinner. We'll talk about eating disorders on Friday, but I have been a lot thinner. I've been a lot fatter. I've never in my entire life felt comfortable in my body, any inch of it. I know that's not a great answer to be giving in a body image talk. It's real, and I do see a psychologist. I've done 2 inpatient stays with eating disorder programs. They talk a lot in the eating disorder programs about body checking and body avoidance, and if you're doing either of those things, then they to me would be warning signs. So body checking is, body avoidance is not looking in the mirror, putting on really baggy clothes so your body can't be seen. Body checking is weighing yourself, putting your rings on to see if they fit.
Wow. I wouldn't even think of doing anything like
oh God,
that.
I hope I'm not giving people ideas. But like anyone who's doing that, I mean, to some extent people will do it. They go, oh, my jeans don't fit anymore. I've put a little bit of weight on. But then how you respond to that is the issue. You know, if you think, oh, you know, it's COVID-19 time and I haven't moved as much, you know, they'll fit again in 3 weeks, then, you know, that's a normal kind of reaction. But if you panic and go, oh, I must never eat again because my jeans don't fit, then you end up in the binge restrict cycle. So,
not good.
Yeah, so the short answer is not good for my body image.
So I guess the last thing I was going to ask you is what impact does poor body image had?
Yeah, so that's a really good question, because body image, whether it's good or it's bad or it's in between, impacts. So it defines your self-image and it defines your self-acceptance, your self-worth.
Wow.
So if you're fat, then for me, it means that I'm stupid as well, like decreases the intellect. I know that might not sound very intelligent to intelligent people, but it does. Like you feel, I can't speak for other people, I can only speak for myself. So I feel stupid, I don't want to go anywhere because my body's overweight and it's incredibly undesirable. I become obsessed with food and exercise. I never over-exercise, but I think about it all the time. I have over-exercised in the past, but I don't do it anymore. It's just a lot of effort, really. But it just impacts every single thing I do.
You don't even think of it to that degree. Like, I think I'm in the group that don't have any sort of a problem.
You are absolutely in there. You might not be at the wander around nude section. No,
I'm not going to wander around nude. And I didn't wear bathers for years, for about 10 years after I had kids, because I didn't like the cellulite and bumps on my thighs.
Well, see, that's body image.
Yeah, it is. So I do have it to a degree, but now I've gone back to wearing bathers now. I think you get to an age where you go, who cares? It is what it is, and I do have cellulite, and cellulite's quite normal, so I'm not going to get too fussed about it. But that would be hard when it impacts so much of your life.
Yeah, well, it's obsessive, so it's in your thought. So it feeds the eating disorder.
Yeah. So you're thinking about
which
it
then
through.
feeds the body image. But like the thinnest I've never been like anorexically thin, but I've just been a little bit underweight. It wasn't good enough. There's still something wrong. So there's no achievement. Yeah. There's just another goalpost that got moved, you know. Yeah. So, but that's very disordered thinking. And like, you know, that scale, everyone's going to fit on it somewhere. But I hope that you move more towards there's a lovely piece of prose on the internet somewhere about the old lady with the purple hat who at 20 does this, 30 does this, whatever, and then at 80 she just sticks on her purple hat and walks out the door because she doesn't care what people think of her purple hat. So I think that's just a really nice analogy, and it's really true because at 20 you won't wear the purple hat for fear that someone will judge you. Yeah, so we all want to be the 80-year-old. Kind of.
Not yet. Well, I got a few years to go, but yes,
yeah.
I look forward to that day because I hope that we can talk about this and it won't be as bad, but I have a feeling with this day of social media, it will always present a challenge. I would just hope that it influences and stuff out there, and maybe people like myself, as we embrace this more, can teach our clients, don't worry, like don't get strung up on it. You see, the thing about Spice Fitness, so you train at Spice Fitness, the thing about Spice Fitness, we teach about having a healthy body. Eating for health, training for health. Training to move well. So your body gets stronger, you get some muscles, and you know, your body then starts to look toned. You do start to actually lose weight. I'm amazed how many ladies within a few months have gone, wow, I've gone down a dress size or 2 dress sizes. So we do all that, but it's with the view to being healthy, not to I must lose weight to look in this defined state. It's all about health, and that's where I think
weight loss should just be. I don't like to. Side effect, not. No, you know, I know in eating disorders they say you cannot recover from an eating disorder if your goal is to lose weight. And that doesn't matter if you're morbidly obese. You cannot recover from an eating disorder if your goal is to lose weight. I'm not there yet. But sometimes weight loss will occur because you're now healthier.
Yeah, I get that.
But that's obviously very individual depending on where you are at the time and what changes you've made. With the social media, like people like you are amazing because you do go out there and say, you know, it's about training yourself and it's about being stronger against yourself. And I worded that wrong, but anyway, you know what I mean. Yeah. But there's not enough people doing that are 18 years old, that are 20 years old. And so, you know, the 18-year-old population, sorry, Sheree, but they're not following you on Instagram. They're not. So that's what we need is the young people of any shape and size. It's not that you have to be big to become the social, but you just, you know, that it doesn't matter what you are. That's what it should be.
I like that.
You know, because we don't want to demonise thin people because some people are naturally thin. Yeah. So you don't want to just flip the coin.
No. But to say that everyone, despite what your genes do, like, so just to embrace who you are and what you are, and just live every day to be the best version of you, which doesn't mean you've got to look like that person or that person, but you are who you are, and your aim should be every day, if we could get that through to young people, is just to be the best version of you that you can be.
Yeah. And that would be amazing.
To gain some weight. That could be losing weight. That could just be to tone up. That could just be to eat healthier.
Yeah, it should always be eat well, move well. Like if you do that and you look after your, go to the dentist when you need to, go to the doctors when you need to. Obviously, there are people with medical conditions that will be particularly thin or particularly overweight. Then you need to be monitored by a health professional, like a medical person. But most of us don't have those issues, so it's just eat well, move well. Be well. True. Think well.
It's good. We're going to end off, Simone, but did you have a quote to read out?
I did. I have a quote. So most people have probably heard this quote, but I'm going to read it anyway because it always resonates with me. It's J.K. Rowling when she was at I don't know where she was actually, J.K. Rowling from a large speech. And she said, "Fat is usually the first insult a girl throws at another girl when she wants to hurt her. Is fat really the worst thing a human being can be? Is fat worse than vindictive, jealous, shallow, vain, boring, or cruel?" Obviously, it's not worse than any of those things, but I love that quote.
It is a good quote, Simone. So we're going to see you again in 2 days' time, and we're going to talk further on where body image goes when it goes wrong, into morphing into some of these eating disorders. So we'll talk more about that then. So I look forward to having you back. So if you had any questions you want to ask Simone, I'm sorry, because we're a fair bit away from the camera, we haven't been able to send any comments, but we'll look at them after. So if you had anything that you're okay to answer questions, Simone?
Absolutely. I love even though I feel incredibly ashamed of a lot of things, I'm always out there sort of... Yeah. I don't know why, but I'm always perfectly happy to subject myself to what feels like humiliation. So my story is very public. I write about it quite a lot. So please ask questions. Happy to direct message people if they want as well.
So if they want to get onto your other Facebook page or in Instagram, can you tell them where they find that?
I can. That wasn't meant to be a sales pitch.
No, it's just so you know more.
So probably just go to my blog, which is simoneyemm.com, but we can pop that in the in the thingies, comments.
We can. So thank you for joining us today. I hope, even if this helps someone in your family, because I've got young girls, two young daughters, well, they're not so young anymore, they're in their early 20s. But even if you can learn something, it is young, if you can learn something from this to pass on to them or start the journey forward to knowing and growing more in this area, even if you got them to watch the Embrace film, I think, which I've just thought today, that is what I'll try and get my younger daughter to do. It would, I think, just be a great start for them. And just because I know that they're trying to get it into schools, and the schools that have shown that film Embrace, have thought it was really good for their girls to see, and boys, because boys also do suffer from body image problems. But yeah, if you get a chance to watch Embrace, please do. And we look forward to having you join us again on Friday. Thanks so much, Simone.
Thank you.
See you.